Hello, you're watching Tell It Like It Is, and my name is Kathy Benuck. Today's show is part of a four-part series of interviews called Race for the Governor's Council, in which you'll get to meet and hear the 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat who are running to serve on the Executive Council representing District 4. Now, before this year, District 4 covered Manchester, Bedford, and 9 other towns, but now, under the redistricting, District 4 it covers Manchester, Bedford, and 18 other towns to represent a whole fifth of the New Hampshire population, or approximately 247,000 people. Since 2003, our governor's counselor has been the amazing New Hampshire political legend, and he surely is, Ray Wazorek. But earlier this year, Ray announced that he would not seek re-election, so now the race is wide open to succeed him. Now, the New Hampshire Governor's Council, or to use its official name, the State of New Hampshire Executive Council, is the only one like it in the United States, and it was actually the first council when it was formed 333 years ago by King Charles II of England. How do you like that? Its 5 members, along with the governor, have authority and responsibility over the administration of the affairs of the state as defined in the state constitution, the state's laws, and the advisory opinions of the New Hampshire Supreme Court and of the Attorney General. Among some of the council duties are, and there are many, to approve in each and every expenditure throughout state government, every budgetary transfer, every contract that has a value of $10,000 or more. Thus, the council really does approve the spending of the lion's share of the state's $5.2 billion budget. And they act to ensure that no state department spends more than the legislature authorized them to spend, nor can they spend anything on any item of service that was not sanctioned by the legislature. The council approves the appointments of judges at every level of the judiciary, all commissioners, all notary public and justice of the peace, all commissioners of deeds. The council has to approve the receipt of all monies into the state from all directions, including federal funds. The council plays a major role in infrastructure improvement through conducting the hearings on the 10-year highway plan, making recommendations, and then providing the management and oversight of the whole 10-year plan. I did not know this, but the council also conducts pardon hearings for prisoners. And in addition, they approve over 300 people every single year who are nominated to serve on all of the different state agencies, boards, and commissions. And oh, by the way, the governor cannot veto any decision of the governor's council. How do you like that? I was very fortunate to have a 1-hour conversation with Ray Wazorek just a couple of days ago. And my questions to the candidates in this series will be based very much on what he related as major upcoming button issues. Now, my guest today is Senator Tom DeBlois, a Republican candidate for Governor's Council. And Tom was first elected to the New Hampshire Senate back in 2010 to represent District 18, which includes 5 very large wards in Manchester as well as the town of Litchfield. Now, during the 2011-2012 session, he served on both the Senate Commerce Committee and the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. His top legislative priorities, well, the biggest one was balancing the state budget, but he also had several others, such as supporting school vouchers, supporting Second Amendment rights, lowering state spending, we like that, fixing the New Hampshire retirement system, fixing educational funding, reducing business regulations, and preventing sales and income taxes. Tom was born and raised in Manchester, humble beginnings. He grew up in public housing, went on then to serve 6 years with the U.S. Army, graduated from the University of New Hampshire with a degree in business science, and used that to then go on and operate several businesses, including a restaurant, a trucking company, a daycare center, and right now he has a successful commercial real estate development company. Tom has been very active in the community. In fact, in 2009, he was awarded the Queen City Rotary Club's Paul Harris Award for service above self. He serves as president of the Franco-American Center, is on the board of directors for the YMCA, longtime supporter of the Boys and Girls Club, active with St. Pius Catholic Church, and in 2011, Tom was named New Hampshire's Franco-American Citizen of the Year. Tom has been married to Peggy McGuire for 46 years. They're on their way to their 47th very soon, and they have 2 daughters and 1 grandson. So with no further ado, Tom, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
And, well, Tom, as I mentioned, I had talked at length with Ray because I figured if there was anybody to get a good handle on what's going on with the Governor's Council and what will be going on, he would be the guy.
Indeed, he would.
So, one of the big upcoming issues that will come before the Council is the state employees' health contract, which is at a cost of $500 million per year. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the retirement system, before I started running, was in a deficit of over $4 billion of unfunded funds for that retirement system. And we put some fixes in it, stop the bleeding. In this coming session, we're looking to basically go from a defined benefits plan for the retirement system to a defined contribution plan, which will save New Hampshire a tremendous amount of money.
Now, will you be able to retain your Senate seat?
No, I will not.
Okay.
This is a roll the dice for one or the other.
I guess,
you don't get to hold 2.
Yeah, you don't. I wasn't sure.
No.
Yeah, okay. Now, another big issue, obviously, that has been before the Council, and certainly I know the legislature grappled with it in different forms, is the whole decision to change Medicaid to a managed care system that will be managed by private companies. Now, my understanding is that it's expected that 131,000 people will be signed up for Medicaid in New Hampshire, which is roughly 10% of the population. And I'm also told that this is all supposed to take effect on December 1st. But meanwhile, we're told that computer operations are a big, huge issue, so much so that maybe it won't take effect on December 1st. How much have you been following this? And you know, on that, do you think we're going in the right direction by going to a managed care situation?
Yeah, I really do. I think managed care systems can really be a large benefit, and they've proven to be a large benefit. The state of New Hampshire and some departments right now are using managed care and giving incentives to employees to shop for services. There's a program called Compass that the City of Manchester is using right now very effectively, where the computer program will tell you for a procedure that you want all the doctors within a 20-minute radius of you and how much they charge. And you have the opportunity to shop those doctors to save money, and if you do, then there's a reimbursement that is given back to the employee. So I think private industry in those types of situations is the right answer. I do not believe Obamacare is the right answer for New Hampshire or the country.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of people share that thought in New Hampshire, no question. Now, a privatization of the state prisons certainly is something now being looked at, and obviously would affect the prisons, the state prison in Concord as well as the Goffstown prison. And the Governor's Council has approved a $171,000 contract for a consultant to further study the issue. Now, being in Manchester, of course, it's been a hot issue over there because Manchester is being considered as a new site. What are your thoughts on privatization, and do you have any thoughts on where it would be best to locate a new prison?
I don't have an opinion on where best to place that prison. There are many places in New Hampshire that we could put them. So, number one, the town or the city that wants to accept it needs to participate in that decision. But I agree that a committee to study the effects of commercializing the prisons should be looked at, and looked at very closely, and give us the options that we really can consider to make a good decision.
Now, do you think money is the only issue, or do you think there'll be a lot of thought going into the human aspect of it? I mean, something as simple as whether prisoners' families will still be able to visit them with ease and such. Do you see our powers that be bringing that into the equation too, or do you think it will all be based on cost?
No, that will be brought into the equation as well. Money is always a concern.
Of course.
In every subject that we deal with in the state, money is always a consideration. As far as the convenience of the family, that can be taken into consideration, but these people are serving a debt to society.
True.
and how convenient we need to make life for them, I question.
True, true. And obviously, I mean, we've had plenty of situations where New Hampshire prisoners had to be put into a different state system because of various problems they were creating within the system and such.
And this study will go through a lot of those options and give suggestions and how we should look at it.
Okay. And being from Manchester, do you see a stronger interest in Manchester, where that's mentioned as one of the sites, or do you think it's pretty equal all through the district?
I don't see the acceptance in Manchester overwhelming.
Really?
I don't, but as time goes by and all of the facts are brought out, that's the powers to be at City Hall to make that decision.
Probably a few skirmishes over it, I would think.
I would think. There's always heated discussions in some subjects.
A little bit over there, yeah, it gets kind of fun.
It does, it does.
Now, as you know, there are lots of people, particularly in this area, who would like to see commuter rail extended into New Hampshire, even up as far as Concord. And as you also know, the Governor's Council did reject federal grants of over $3 million that would have paid for some of the preliminary work to kind of bring commuter rail more into potential reality, I guess is the way to put it. And when they did not accept those funds, obviously this has put the issue in a temporarily moot status. First, what's your opinion of the need for commuter rail in New Hampshire? And do you think that the council should have accepted that money, even though I'm sure one of the considerations was the fact that there would have to be matching funds of about $910,000?
The problem with federal funds, every time they're offered to the state of New Hampshire, is they come with strings attached. And it's not free. There isn't any money that comes from the federal government that's free. It's going to cost you an enormous amount of money in the end. I've spoken with Southern New Hampshire Services and the Chamber of Commerce about rail. And my opinion with that is that I'm in favor of rail in New Hampshire if and when it does not have to be subsidized by the taxpayers. If private industry can make it work, I think it'd be great for New Hampshire. If they need to be subsidized by the council or the state of New Hampshire or the taxpayers, we're not ready.
And there's probably the rub, because I don't know that there's a public transit system in the country that is able to operate without taxpayer subsidy.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So you like the concept, but you don't want to pay.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Right.
That's definitely fair. Now, I know, as I mentioned, and you definitely know, that the Governor's Council plays a huge role in determining the state's 10-year highway plan. And you probably are aware of the fact that the Bedford Town Council really has pushed for the Route 101 widening, this stretch from down at 114, coming into Bedford. And they really wanted it to be a high priority on the 10-year plan. Now, the state DOT had originally scheduled it for 2019, but largely, I think, due to Ray's efforts, it got pushed now so that it's scheduled for 2016. Now, obviously, there would be a lot of people in New Hampshire who would not consider the widening of Route 101 in Bedford as their biggest transportation issue. So my question is this: as a council member, do you feel that if this were before you, or a similar issue, that it's more important for you to battle for a project because your constituents want it, or to support a project that has the biggest need and the biggest benefit, even if it happens not to be in your district?
Yeah, and that's something that I've served in. Ray Wazorek appointed me twice to highway commissions to study improvements to certain areas in the state, and I've served on them and gained an awful lot of experience on what it takes to go through the process to determine whether this project is ready, that we should put it on the priority list, or whether the danger or considerations are such that we need to increase the priority. The exchange in Bedford is a bottleneck, and traffic is backed up a lot, and in some cases can be a danger. That's something, when you get a situation like that, you really need to do a study and to really consider it. And if that study comes back where the priority for improvement needs to be raised, then I think I would be in favor of raising that possibility of improvements.
But if there were equally important projects, and this all had to be divvied out.
Of course, I represent District 4.
So you would push for the District 4 interest?
I represent District 4.
Okay.
And the interest and the concerns and the safety of my constituents in District 4 would be a higher priority.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a question people have, obviously.
Certainly, and that's what the people are electing me to do, is to go up there. And, you know, it's like when I ran for the Senate. We went out and the people were good enough to put a majority of Republicans in the House, the Senate, and the Executive Council.
They did, yeah.
And because the voters did that, their voices were heard this last session in the Senate. Their voices were heard about the budget. Their voices were heard about the unfair funding of schools. Their voices were heard about the concern of the retirement funds and a lot of other subjects. If the people can do that again in this coming election, and give us a Republican governor as well. If you think the success was overwhelming in the last 2 years, the next 2 years will be overwhelming.
A lot to think about.
The conservative platform is a good
A lot to think
platform.
about. Now, you had brought up Obamacare, and actually I had a question kind of dealing with that a little bit. Obviously, those who were opposed and are opposed to Obamacare really would have liked to have seen the state join in the multi-state lawsuit to keep it from being implemented here in New Hampshire. And obviously the state's Attorney General was the one who would seek that, and our current Attorney General would not, and whether or not it was based totally on being a Democrat or not, I don't know. But I understand his term is expiring in 2013. So the new governor and, well, obviously, and the council will decide whether he'll be reappointed if he seeks it, or a whole new AG will be coming in. What kind of questions would you have for whomever will be put before the council to be appointed as Attorney General? I
wanted to talk about Obamacare and
well,
the
you
efforts
can do both.
and the efforts that I put forth in the legislature in this past in the Senate. And there were 2 bills that were filed, one in the House and one in the Senate. Both bills were ordering the Attorney General to join the lawsuit with the other 29 states, which of course everyone knows that the Attorney General refused to do. As far as with Obamacare, in the Senate, there was a bill that would propose to set up exchanges in New Hampshire in order to implement the Obamacare. And that was SB 164. And I fought that very vigorously and won. And then Andy Benuck from the House, Representative Andy Benuck, came up with 1297, HB 1297, which prohibited New Hampshire from setting up the exchanges. So it's keeping our options open and not putting any infrastructure in place to accept Obamacare. In my opinion, the Supreme Court was absolutely wrong in their decision to declare that constitutional.
I know there's a lot of confusion now since they did that as to what states can and can't do, and AGs and so on.
Well,
Has New Hampshire grabbed a handle on this yet?
I believe they have. We have the laws in the books in our Constitution with the 10th Amendment so that we can nullify the Obama effect. And the nice thing that
even with the U.S. Supreme Court decision? I
believe so. That's our state sovereignty that we are talking about. And I believe we have the right to do that.
Do you think that'll happen?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
There is a better way. Obamacare is not the better way.
Well, I think everybody's afraid of the cost, if nothing else, and
small
certainly
business,
the penalizations to people who, for whatever reason, don't
For business, it'll be huge.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think everybody agrees on that part of it. Yeah. Of
course, you got to remember that everybody has health care. They may not have health insurance. because most people that don't have health insurance show up at the ER, and they do get care.
Yeah, you're right.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
But Obamacare would be much more expensive.
A lot of people I mean, they point to other places like Canada or England or whatever and say that the delay in getting health care will be much more significant.
People are dying waiting for,
Yeah.
surgeries.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's scary.
We don't need that in this country. That's not America.
No, okay. What do you think is the most important duty of a governor's counselor with respect to now who's next going to represent District 4? Because there will actually be 2 new governor's counselors this year. So I'm sure you've thought about this. What do you think is going to be the biggest thing you'll have to face?
The biggest thing for New Hampshire right now is, the statistics are that New Hampshire is at the bottom 10% for delivering efficient government. And that's a direct relationship to our commissioners and our department heads. A lot of the departments are self-funded, and that's a bit of a problem because you don't have direct oversight over those departments when they are. And they have a conflict of interest every time they walk into a business because they either need to license you, permit you, fine you, or penalize you. That's the way they have their income coming in. So there's an area that should be looked at very, very closely. But the way departments spend money is very, very important, and that's basically what the Governor's Council does, is they manage the affairs of New Hampshire. They're similar to a president of a company and the board of directors. Of course, the governor is the president and CEO, and the board members is the governor of council. And any matters that affect the state need to come to that board for discussion and decision.
Now, you served in the Senate, so it's a fair question to ask you. Is there much dialogue or exchange of information between the legislature and the Governor's Council, or do they really conduct themselves as 2 completely separate entities?
Well, they are a different branch.
Yes, I know.
But the advice and counsel comes from both ways. We are in contact with the Governor's Council, the governor. There are ongoing discussions with the Senate and the legislature all the time. So it's not everyone's going to their own separate little offices and kibitzing all by themselves. But it is a dialogue that's carried on between both legislators.
Yeah, I've noticed, in fact, when I was kind of researching for this show a little bit, I went back over some of the council agendas and minutes and almost fell over when I saw the length of their agendas. I mean, I don't think I saw an agenda with less than 140 items on any one meeting.
Oh, the workload is
huge.
Yeah, it's very involved.
It's absolutely huge. Yeah. Now, is there any issue that you yourself would love to see brought forward before the council that hasn't been yet?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most important things in my mind is the protection of our liberties and our rights, which would be an attack by Washington, and we need to push back. And every time a mandate is put in place, it affects us. Every time one of our rights are taken by the federal government, we need to say no. And when I'm on the Governor's Council, I will say no.
What do you think of some of the recent rights that have been taken away from us?
I don't like it. One of them that are most important is Obamacare. The right to choose what you would like to have for insurance, what the health care you would like. When that right is taken away from you, you've turned an awful lot of power over to the federal government. And when they can determine whether you're at a certain age or an operation isn't going to allow you to be more productive in society, that's a wrong decision. That's a scary decision, and I won't permit this state to go in that direction. If
I said to you, in the time you were in the Senate, and I know I looked over your voting record and you were involved in a huge number of issues and co-sponsored a huge number of bills.
Yes, I did.
And if I said to you, your experience in the Senate thus far, what are you the most proud of? What would you answer?
Oh my goodness. You know,
tough one?
No, it's not. Not tough at all. Because
right.
I have some definite concerns that brought me to the Senate in the first place.
Okay.
And one of the best bills and the ones that I'm most satisfied with is school choice. The first week that I went to the Senate, I filed a bill for school choice. And some people call that vouchers, but it didn't turn out to be vouchers. What it turned out to be is a scholarship organization being set up so that businesses can contribute and have a tax deduction
Yes.
for that contribution, which I think is going to bring competition into this educational environment and really improve. It'll be the first step. It's not the answer, but it's the first step to improving how we educate our children.
That was a big issue this year.
That was a big issue.
Definitely.
And ironically, the last day, which was veto day, that bill became law.
I know.
So now parents have free choice to bring their child where they would like to bring them. That was a very important bill. Another bill that I was involved with was with the Labor Department. A lot of times, as I said, these departments have 4 ways to bring their income in. They license you, permit you, fine you, or penalize you. And I successfully got a bill passed that gives a one-time warning to a business that's overlooked an administrative infraction, so that you don't get fined. You get 30 days to fix it. And that was an important bill.
Yes.
I've gotten a lot of calls from business people that have thanked me for that bill. So those are some of the things that I worked on a lot. Of course, I was vice chair on the Health and Human Services, so I was quite involved in all of the health issues in this state.
I can imagine.
In rolling back almost 80 regulations that affected business in this last term was very thrilling to me.
I'm sure
because
it was.
we are over-regulated in almost every single business that is in New Hampshire. And rolling back that to give business people the freedom to go out and earn a living and promote themselves is very important.
Well, Tom, as you can see, look at that clock up there and you'll see how fast the time has flown. So what I would like you to do is make your best ever pitch right to their camera and tell the voters why they should vote for you for Governor's Council this year.
I appreciate that, and I thank you. I enjoyed this conversation very much, and I would like to ask for your vote. My qualifications show I've got 46 years in business, and not in just one field. I've been successful in 4 or 5 fields, which gives me the wisdom and the experience to handle the affairs that come up in the Governor's Council. When you're dealing with just one industry, you are expert in that one industry. And every vendor and every contract that comes in the state, you will know what you're doing. But I have the qualifications of several industries. I know the nuances of them, and I can more effectively deal with the vendors and the spending that's involved in hiring people to service the things we need in our state. I've hired people all my life. I know how to evaluate people, to present good conservative people as judges, department heads, and commissioners. I've been steadfast in the Senate. My voting record has been fiscally conservative and socially conservative as well, and I've been consistent. I've represented my District 18 to the best of my ability, and I believe I have done an outstanding job. With the bills that I've passed, the bills that I've been involved with, and the committees that I've served on, we have been effective, we have been successful, and I'm looking forward to use that experience and that success to build on going forward as your executive counselor.
Tom, we are out of time. Thank you for being here.
Very, very much for having me.
Best of luck in the upcoming election.
Thank you.
To all of you, thank you for watching the show. Tom did a great job of telling us his sentiments and how he feels about things. He knows how to tell it like it is, which is what this show's all about. You keep telling it like it is. And until the next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.